Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Friendship Pearson, and welcome again to the channel, Friendship Blue. Yes, it is August 31st. Happy Sunday, happy Sunday. Another day the Lord has made. Let us be glad in it. Let us be glad in it. So a few days ago, it was Michael Jackson's birthday. I told you guys a story about him picking me up. I guess I was like 17 and a half, and I was hitchhiking, and I'll always remember that he picked me up in a limo, and he had a big fro, and I had a fro back in the day, little fro. Boy, how times change, right? One of my favorite records that he sang was "You and I must make a pact. We must bring salvation back. Where there is love, I'll be there." That's when music was music, right? They don't make it like that no more. At least not as much. Shout out to Mike. I pray he's in glory. And we are one step closer to the day when he will come again. Last night I did a video, and it stuck with me. So I got up last night and I listened to it a few times, and it moved me. It really did move me. The dilemma of social media. The caboose is leading the train. That's the video I did last night. Yeah, or should I say this morning. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I am Friendship Pearson, and welcome again to my channel. It is the last day of August. The last day of August, August 31st. So yeah, I did that video last night, and I had to play it about 3 or 4 times, and I went to sleep. And I played it again. It was something about that video that touched me. And me and God just started having conversations. we just started having conversations. And off and on, I was reading you guys' comments, of which I appreciate. And there were a few haters right out the gate. That's the right hand. There were a few haters in the chat right out the gate. I got them both, left and right hand. And they have since then went bye-bye. They're not in the chat anymore. And the comments, they led me to think beyond the norm. I believe that God allows things to happen many times so you can think. I would go on record and say that I found myself more in doing social media. I've always been this, what they call in my teenage years, a L7, or a weirdo, or a square. I could be in a crowd and trying to enjoy myself, but I always heard this little small voice. I always was sensitive to the other realm. I could look at people in the eyes and see a spirit. I just, And I haven't come across as the norm. And it bothered me when I was young. And in time, I began to realize just how peculiar and different I was. And I would add in relation to the gift that he gave me. And now that I'm doing social media, I'm realizing why God built and or constructed me the way he did. There are times I look at my grandmother's picture, my dad's picture, and my mother's picture, and I do that every morning. I don't continue to walk until I look at them. And I'm like, did you guys ever see? Did you guys know? My grandmother would sit in the rocking chair and say, boy, you think you're somebody. I've told that story before. She would just look at me and say, Shot, because my real name is French Shot. She'd say, Shot, boy, you think you're somebody. So I'm thinking she saw it. And I want to talk about that because God in time will give you wisdom. It's one thing to seek God, to read, to gain knowledge. There's steps in the process. And then you get some wisdom and an anointing. You can't just go past the process from reading and studying and knowledge straight to anointing and wisdom. You got to go through the process. And as I produce these videos, I'm realizing that the peculiarity is God. That he needed me to be a certain way, starting from a youngin' to now to do this work. Now, again, I read all you guys' comments thus far, and I appreciate it. Beautiful. One of the comments was this blew my mind. Mr. P, don't apologize for being you. First of all, I'm glad I found your channel and have totally learned a lot along the journey. I'm about your age and couldn't believe it when I realized that you are the reporter from back in the day. I'm like, woo! The person said, I'm about your age and I couldn't believe it when I realized that you are that reporter from back in the day. At Mikey 3071. That's in the comment section, y'all. That was mind blowing. Well, I'm assuming they talking about this because I worked for various newspapers and magazines back in the day. So he must have been checking me out way back in the day. And this one is from 1979. Right? Talk about a process, right? That's 46 years, y'all. Now, I want to read to you. I decided to say, you know what? You need to go from the pillar to the chair. Get out your clipboard, get out your pen, and start writing. And so that's what I did this morning. I wanna respond in relation to who I am because of I am. At the same time, it is a response to those who think that I am hating on the content creators which are blinging and have a mass audience. And so I thank you for the comments because it spent a wheel and it made me think. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me. So I wrote, I had a few haters last night. They concluded I'm hating on these successful content creators who have not only money, but a large following. Actually, I'm pointing out the unfairness of the algorithm, the inconsistency of the guidelines, the double standards. An unfair playing field is a disadvantage to the audience to view a more wide variety of opinions, belief systems, speech, and a diversity of speech is gradually being shut down. In context, this makes sense as we move into the 666 beast system. Let's call it the not so silent transformation. Remember, the USA and the world is a gift to be handed to the Antichrist. It's his present. It's his most high gift. America and the world is conforming, not by its own hand. It's being guided. It's being shaped and molded. And one of those aspects is communication, which includes social media. And the denial, if you will, of certain content creators and the expansion of certain content creators is what they need so that there is no resistance in the future, and that the present that they're dressing up for Satan, for the Antichrist, the people will then have one mind as they go into the one world system / golden age, the purple reign, not the R-A-I-N, but the R-E-I-G-N. That's what it's about. So I'm not hating. I'm being hated upon. There's a difference. And I'm speaking on it. And God spoke to me this morning. He spoke to me last night. He's like, look, Pearson, I need you to speak to the people so they can understand what is transforming and transpiring before them. And you need to understand it as a deliverer of speech. I'm like, okay, God. So I grabbed my pen, I got my clipboard. I'm like, okay, let's go. So in context, this makes sense as we move into the 666B system. Let's call it the not so silent transformation. Remember, the USA and the world is a gift to be handed to the Antichrist. It's his present, most high gift. So I'm not hating, I'm painting a picture of the times. Of these times, I'm painting a picture. I must admit, I went at it with God about what has happened to me. Yeah, me and God have gotten into it. I've gotten way better since I was a child, a teenager, and a young adult. I don't humbug with God as much as I used to. I'm human like you. I cry. I hurt. I feel. I have goals and objectives. I wanted certain things. When it didn't happen, when the daggers kept coming, many times I would just break down. But I did what I only know to do ever since I was a kid. I know that when INSPA, short for inspiration, comes to me, I need to move. And so I kept writing through the storm. I kept enduring. I kept doing the videos. No matter what I went through, I kept doing them. Because God never stopped speaking. So I'm not hating, I'm painting a picture of the times I must admit I went at it with God about what has happened to me and how I went on social media. I went on social media a few years ago and I asked God for a wife. Remember that? I asked God, I says, if you're out there, email me. I asked God for a wife on a few of my shows. God said, I didn't call you for riches. I called you for sacrifice. God said, I didn't call you, Pearson, for riches. I called you for sacrifice. Now, me and God, we old school. Sometimes my conversations get low down and dirty, but respectful. Because he knows how to connect with me. He knows how I'm built. He knows what words identify, can pierce, comfort, correct, lead, guide, all that. We old school. Many times I'm not hitting my knees, I'm just sitting and I'm talking to him. I'm like, man, look, this is rough. God is rough. And I would look at other content creators, even Christian content creators, and God was like, look, I called you to a certain type of ministry. They're doing their ministry. Every now and then they go through some things, but not like you, because I called you to a special type of ministry. So they're going to get the big views. They're going to have the big following. I chose you uniquely from them, and I chose them uniquely from you. And in that context, you have to put the whole thing together. I'm working. I'm like, okay, got you. But smart aleck me. But I'm still suffering. So I want to thank, again, those who commented about me hating on certain content creators and my stuff not being good enough and not having the amount of followers. For those of you all who didn't know, I had another channel. You can see behind me there's a part of the YouTube declaration. When you get over 100,000 subscribers, they send that to you and they send the plaque. I have a plaque over 100,000. Matter of fact, I had 124,000 on one particular channel. God said, I didn't call you for riches. I called you for sacrifice. Then God began to break down to me what he meant by riches. I'm like, okay. I called you to endure. And enduring is a process. I called you to trust me. I called you because you're going to be in the trenches. I called you when it's cold, that it's going to be dark, and the times are going to be uncertain. Your life has never been a bed of roses. I had you experience that ever since you was a little bit boy, but you never understood the context of your life. I was building you from a little bitty boy to toughen you up for the now. I never had that conversation with God until last night. That he would put my whole life in perspective in relation to what I'm doing now. God said, I never had you have a bed of roses. You always had it tough. You always had it rough. But I was molding you and shaping you so that when you start doing this, and that uppercut would happen, and that right to the jaw, and that elbow to the head, and that kick to the gut, you've seen that before. Ain't God good? So you in the trenches, you in the dark, no light, and there was no other way to do this, Pearson. I had to let you go through this because I'm calling you for the future, and ain't no other way out than to just stand on me. I called you not for the riches, but for the sacrifice. I called you to be that example to the brethren and the sisters of the faith. I created physiological human beings. God said I created physical-logical human beings. They're both physical and logical. Your feet touch the earth. You experience things. That's the physical. But a transformation is occurring toward the new world order. The sun gods want this historic golden age at any cost. So where you plant your feet is changing. I need you to interpret the times and speak to the people. I didn't call you for riches. I called you for sacrifice. And only through that sacrifice could you go into a moment or a realm, if you will. So you can now see what I see, the depthness of it. You're just not a reporter because you've never just been a reporter. You never fit. You're pulling back those layers. You're revealing things. I gave you the 5 C's, young man. Now it's time to use them. I never called you to reflect man's standards. I never called you to reflect man's standards of success. What I did was allow you to suffer and connect with the people and be an example, then cry out because you have a call of duty. You're called to sacrifice. There is wisdom in sacrificing, different from any other calling. I'm a jealous guy. You got a call of duty. Sacrifice is what Moses did. Moses had no idea as I spoke to him through that burning bush. Then I issued unto him the 2 tablets. That once he'd arrived to the people, they'd in the meantime, without patience, made a golden calf. And even though Moses broke the physical commandments, that is, he took the 2 tablets out of frustration when he saw them dancing and prancing and worshiping the golden calf. Moses broke those tablets. He broke those commandments out of frustration. God said, look, I wrote them in his heart. Woo! God's like, that's what burning does. When you write something and then you burn it, you seal it. It's deep. He says, so young man, I had you go through the fire at an early age so that you can withstand this test. Because I didn't want you to bow out as soon as it got bad. I wanted you to have some history. A peek, if you will, of how dark it's going to get. And I need you for service in the future. Because you've been through that test, you've been through that fire. So when you see things out of order, you might lose your head every now and then, but you're going to stand and you're going to go forth with his word. This is the conversation God had with me last night. Moses' mindset was on delivering the messages, but the sacrifice and call of duty was in part to deal with the disappointment of his brother Aaron, whom Moses left in charge, and the disobedience of the people. The Lord said, when I call you, there's a process so you can be molded into what I need for your call of duty. And as for your wife, that wasn't your wife. You asked for a wife, but I never sent it to you. So when I thought I was done, the Lord spoke to me about the 2 commandments, the 2 tablets. God spoke to me about the 10 commandments and the 2 tablets. God said, why do you think they call them tablets? In our modern day, we hear the word tablet. If you have a headache, you take an aspirin. You take a tablet. God wrote his laws, his order, on 2 tablets. It is written. When you take something, when you inject something, when you take a tablet, it's just likened to a word. It can transform you. Hence, 5 years ago, and possibly the future, tablets. Think.